Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Report, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's take a look at some of the stocks on the move today here in Europe. I'm Caroline Hepio with Jumana Basecci, and we're joined by Bloomberg reporter Chloe Millay. Good morning. So the mining giant Glencore posting a drop in profits. Even record copper prices didn't do it. How are investors thinking about this news?
Well, actually, shares were up this morning, despite the fact that, as you said, profit did fall because those record copper prices were not quite enough to offset some of the weakness in the coal business in particular, which has been struggling for some time. But the reason why the shares are up might have a lot to do with the fact that Glencore is planning to return $2 billion to shareholders, and so this is probably something that is offsetting some of those disappointing results. And the results do come just a couple of weeks after the deal talks between Glencore and Rio Tinto collapsed. So now Glencore really has to show investors that it can make that progress on its own. And the big thing that Glencore has got going for it is its copper business, and that is the metal that everyone wants access to right now. Of course, it has hit multiple records over the last month, and that was one of the main motivations for Rio Tinto to merge with Glencore. But the copper business at Glencore does need to be improved because production keeps falling and it's consistently missed production targets. But there is some progress towards that at the moment. The Glencore said this morning that it had reached an agreement with the Democratic Republic of Congo's state mining company to over a land package that will allow it to boost copper production in that country. So the copper output reset is in progress, and that is quite reassuring, and that really needs to be the focus going forward for Glencore.
Yeah. What about BAE Systems, which looks to be benefiting from the uptick in defense spending?
Yeah, absolutely. So BAE is expecting that momentum in sales and earnings to stabilize this year after what has been a record 2025 for the company. So the promise of that steady growth rather than any acceleration was enough to get investors excited, because we're talking about maintaining growth at quite a high level. And BAE is, of course, as you say, been one of the main beneficiaries of this big ramp up in defense spending across Europe. And last year it did raise its outlook. So that means that could happen this year as well, especially given that there's no sign that defense budgets will be shrinking this year. And it seems that analysts are really seeing this as a long-term story for BAE. We've got Morgan Stanley, for example, saying they're increasingly confident that the company can sustain high single-digit revenue growth for the foreseeable. So all in all, we've got great results, very promising guidance for BAE, and that is definitely reflected in those shares today. We were firmly in the green this morning.
Meanwhile, the retailer Carrefour dropping as much as 5% after delivering full-year results, which are seen as slightly weaker than expected.
Yeah, we've got profit missing expectations, cash flow being disappointing. The fourth quarter sales were positive, but also a little bit below what analysts had expected. So that weakness definitely across the board for Carrefour. And the company is also holding a capital markets day today, and it has set some 2030 targets and a particular strategy that is really focused on the France, Spain, and Brazil markets. Is planning to gain more and more market share in those countries, and that is after Carrefour has exited markets like Italy and Romania as well, because those were not performing as well. But Citi analysts have said that those long-term growth targets are quite ambitious, which might mean they will be quite difficult to achieve. And JP Morgan analysts said that right now the weak results for 2025 will be overshadowing the midterm outlook to 2030. So Carrefour does have a big task ahead of it to revive that growth in those core markets and get the cash flow back on track.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.